my throat with a little agua before we start.
There you go. Okay, I just cleared my throat with some Chinese food.
Ooh, just having some chobani, the dinner of choice.
I mean, mom on the go. You're like anything that I can shovel as
I
quickly as possible.
at nighttime since this pregnancy, I'm 21 weeks now on Tuesday. And at night, I can literally eat like 3 bagels in a row for lunch. But when it comes to dinner, I have zero appetite.
The amount of bagels I have consumed since I have been in Florida is not okay on any level. I'm turning into like I don't know what I'm gonna do when I get back to LA and like we don't ever have bagels in our house. It's gonna be a new thing.
You
But
have you gotta have bagels in your house.
you kind of have to have bagels
It's not a home without
without
bagels in the
but it's
house.
such an East Coast thing. Like, I don't know. West Coast people, it's a different vibe out there. I'm like, I think you guys are missing out. You need the chive cream cheese, and you need the tuna, and you need the bagels, and you need whatever else comes with it. So
Not kidding. I had 2 bagels for lunch. I went to Einstein Bagels, and the last time I went, I just got one, and I was still hungry. So I made the right choice, and I had two. This is my thing. I eat a huge, ridiculous lunch, and then I'm really not hungry the rest of the day.
that, that's actually honestly better.
Yeah,
It's like
this is how South Americans do it. They eat a big lunch.
you're living the life. It's
I know,
like
doing it right.
fasting by accident.
Exactly. Right. Exactly. Yeah. I actually had a parody in mind. Um, do you know that song Smoke Two Joints?
Who by whom?
I don't know. It's like smoke 2 joints in the morning, I smoke 2 joints at night.
Yes.
I don't know if you smoked back in the dizzy, but I was gonna make a parody, but I haven't really gotten my act together to make it. And since you don't know the song, I feel like it wouldn't hit as hard.
I do know this. I'm not like great with like the songs. Like I need to hear the chorus and then I'm fine. So now I know.
I can like get like a feel from the people that are on this live right now if they think that
Oh,
this would be funny for me to actually execute. I was gonna do a parody, like a pregnant parody. Eat 2 bagels in the morning. I eat 2 bagels at night. I eat 2 bagels in the afternoon. It makes me feel all right.
it's like honestly, the one bagel is just never enough.
I have all the lyrics. So if anybody wants this, just comment. I'll make it happen. Okay, if you want it, then I'll make it happen. Send it
Oh,
to you privately.
let's get bagels for life. I mean, we have Essa Bagel sent from Gold Belly to LA,
Smart.
and like a lot of bagels, and we just keep them stacked up in our kitchen, and we're just like every 5 minutes, and suddenly there's one bagel left, and it's been like 24 hours.
So we're here to talk about
Yes,
life,
I'm
loss,
here. I'm here to
loss
talk.
of bagels, the loss of bagels, the gaining of bagels. It's really like it's like an analogy for our life.
Yes. Oh man. So yeah, I guess we'll get talking. People will join as they can, and then obviously I'll save it, and people can watch it later if they're like in the middle of eating bagels or Chinese food right now, like you and I.
You do on a Sunday night.
Um, and then I'll add it to YouTube also. So for those of your family members and friends who don't have access to Instagram, which is probably for the best, they can watch it there.
Ooh, I just put on a filter. Do I look better now?
Well, now you're so close to the screen.
I felt like I was looking really pale. Oh, maybe that's better. Okay, that's like yeah, okay, I'm gonna keep it on that.
Except now I think you have to back up a little bit
Oh,
because
really?
for some reason it like zoomed in. Yeah, now
Okay, not zoomed in anymore?
no.
Okay, I'll just keep it like this. You can
Look,
see you
look,
can see all my blemishes.
you're fine. All right, so whatever you want to talk about to start, and I'll chime in here and there, but I figure I'll let you tell your story and then we can just sort of talk as it comes.
Sure, yeah. So, I'm in Miami right now. I grew up in Miami. I grew up with 2 older brothers. My brother Alan was 6 years older than me. My brother Mike is 3 years older than me. And in 1998, Alan was a freshman at the University of Florida, and he passed away in a car accident. He was in a car accident with four other girls. Him and another girl in the car passed away. And it was obviously the most sudden, tragic, horrible thing. I was 13 at the time. And hard for me to like fully grasp, I think. I mean, I knew what had happened. Obviously, I was 13, but my grieving process at the time looked like a lot like distraction and going, trying to just distract myself with friends. Shiva, I remember being one of the most like warm, welcoming things that could have happened after Alan passed away, because there were so many people there. All my friends were there. I remember this guy, Evan, asked me to be his girlfriend at Shiva, and I was like, this is amazing. And all the food, I was like, this is great. All the bagels you could eat.
You're like, no idea, but this is amazing.
No, I obviously was extremely sad, but Shiva was just an incredible distraction.
Yeah.
And I remember putting a sign on the door to my bedroom that said the happy room.
Like,
and
come in here if you're gonna cry. This is only where you come if you want a good chuckle.
Exactly. So I think that just really gives you an idea of where I was at that point in my life. Like, I knew that I heard my mom screaming in her bathroom at one point. I knew that my brother was handling it very differently than I was. I saw what was happening around me, and I think it was a lot for me to look at right in the face at that time. And
right.
So I put the sign on my door, the happy room. And I remember my mom, like, shortly after, encouraging therapy and wanting me to talk more. And anytime they'd bring up Alan's name, like, I would be like, la, 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 la. Like, that was my reaction. Like, I missed him, but I kind of just wanted to pretend he was still at college.
Yeah.
And so, she, like, cried at the thought of the happy room, and also smiled at the thought that I just wanted to be in this happy room. And the way that I grieved and have always grieved is through creativity and speaking about it. And as I've matured and gotten older, I've been able to channel that into storytelling and song. And now with platforms like this, discussions and podcasts, and it's become something that I love talking about openly. And I was not open at all. I really was like this. Like, I remember we went into family therapy once and I wanted to vomit. I'm like, this is the worst thing ever. Like, why are you taking me to family therapy? I couldn't wait for it to be over. I had a therapist throughout my life, and like, I remember going there for the snacks. Like, I was so happy when I went there, and I like kind of talked about Alan and my sadness or whatever, but I wanted to be a normal kid. Like, I just wanted to be 13, 14, 15. And also at the time, my mom was, I think she was in remission from breast cancer, but her breast cancer came back shortly after. And at the same time, my dad actually was diagnosed with leukemia, but he didn't tell us. He wanted to protect us. And so my mom was battling her breast cancer. And again, like, I was there, I was so supportive, but I was 14, 15, like, just wanting to be, I was an actress, and I was performing, and I was singing, and I remember I wrote a song about Alan, and my mom, for my birthday, she like took me to a recording studio to record it for like days of like channeling that grief at the time. And I ended up continuing to do that, but it wasn't until later in life that I started to feel it more. Yeah. Like the sadness, like it took like decades for me to be like, oh shit.
You're also so young. So my cousin, which I've never even discussed this, passed away when she was in her early 40s, and she had 3 kids, and like, a lot of it, they were young. I mean, the oldest one was in high school. The youngest one was in elementary school. And I think they just wanted to like be kids. And of course, like, they knew their mom was really sick, but when you're that young, like, you're sort of just like living your life, and your parents aren't telling you
want you to be grieving them. I mean, that was a big thing with my mom when she was sick. Like, she didn't want me to know when she was sick. She didn't want me to know when she was feeling badly from chemo. So I just was like, great, like mom's fine. Like, she goes to her chemo and she comes back, and she might not feel good for a few days, but like then she's fine and she's my mom, and we can go shopping and go to lunch and be regular mama and daughter, you know?
And like until it's necessary to sit down and have that conversation of like, okay, this is getting really serious and we need to talk about what's going to happen. Like, you're just under the assumption of like, my mom doesn't feel well from here and there. She's going to be fine. It's just like she has to go through this miserable treatment to like get where she's going to be, and then it'll be fine. Like, you're not aware at that age of what we're unfortunately aware of when we're older, like what we know now. I wish I could just erase it all from my mind. I'd be a much more sane human being.
And that's what she wanted. I think that's what most people who are sick want for their children, to feel like that their mother or their father aren't sick. And they don't want to be received that way constantly. And I think it's easier for us to just buy into that. But part of my wish is that I just lived with it a little bit more while my mom was really sick, and just gave her the space. But I wasn't mature enough, like really until after she passed, and so yes. So my dad was sick with leukemia, and then he 4 years later told us he needed a bone marrow transplant. And then sorry,
he was sick for that long without you guys knowing?
Yes, yeah. He would go to New York for treatment, and he would say he was going there for deposition.
Oh my.
And my mom, I remember after he passed away a year later, and she made the joke, like, he could have been cheating on me for like 4 years, saying he's going to New York for depositions. We're big on, like, we know life is hard, and we were always big on laughing through the chaos and the sadness, and trying to just take it like that. Laughing was our breath of fresh air. That was
just talking about this also because we had to like make light. I mean, I hate to say this, but like the first eulogy at my dad's funeral, the person goes, in the words of Steven Divac, I don't even know if I'm allowed to say this on Instagram, I'll get like banned, but he goes, I got fucked. And it was like everyone laughed because it's like that's exactly what my dad would have said. And we were like talking about the like funeral homes and like what a freaking business that is, and like how they take such advantage, especially if you're not prepared. And like there was this whole debacle when we went to go pick everything out for my dad, and they did this like it was torrentially downpouring, and they're like, okay, like, does this plot look good to you? And we're like, oh yeah, it looks great, like it looks perfect.
Can't wait for my amazing.
And they're like, do you want to go look at it? And it starts torrentially downpouring. And at first we're like, it's fine. Like, be back tomorrow. We'll see it then. And then it slowly starts to lighten up, and you know what? We'll go. Take us on the little golf cart tour of like the saddest place in the entire world. And they take us, and it turns out it's like next to in Florida, there's like the gutters, like the drain things for all the rain. It's literally like there. He would have been like buried next to it. And we went ballistic, and this girl was like, so frazzled because they knew what they were doing. It was a last minute thing. Like we were like, didn't know what to do. We just wanted to get it over with. And all of a sudden, like
always a last minute thing. Typically,
the best was when we walked in and they were like, oh, how is Dr. Divac doing? And we're like, clearly not well. We're here.
Oh, well, we're here.
We're here. But a huge gust of wind comes, and the woman was holding like envelopes filled with whatever paperwork, and all of a sudden the paperwork just like blows out of her arms everywhere, and we were like dying. We're like, yep, he's here. He says this is bullshit. Like, moving on, we must find another spot.
Isn't it amazing, like the signs that you see, like just felt exactly like you just felt.
Yeah, and we had to make a joke out of it because it was such a joke. But yes, to your point with like your mom saying he could have been going up to New York to cheat. I love it.
Yeah, that was her way. I guess I learned by example. That's my way. But, as I've matured, gotten older, maybe gone through 3 pregnancies that have made me more hormonal and cry more, I'm able to get more in touch with my sadness,
Yeah.
my loss. And I think even Alan died in 1998. It's been almost 23 years.
So crazy.
It doesn't always feel like 23 years. Like I had a dream about him actually last night. He was actually so weird in my dream, and I woke up being like, that was bizarre. But he was like he was like a coach, and he was like really mean. It's just they like show up in my dreams sometimes, and like often like not nice people. I don't know, like
This is not what I expected you to turn out to be.
yeah, I'm like, I don't like this version of you, but I guess if this is how you are now, then we're all good.
Right? Do you dream about parents at all?
Sorry.
Do you dream about your parents?
Yeah. Also, like, it's like I know that they're gone in the dream, but I'm not like, there's only been a few times where like, and it was in the way beginning, right after their passing, with every loss that I've had, where I have the dream that they're there and I know that they're there and I'm so excited to see them. And I know what I've been missing.
Yeah.
Oh my God, like they're here, like what am I going to say? Like, how am I going to handle this encounter? Like, this is my chance. And I've had some like lucid dreaming throughout my life where it's like I know that I'm dreaming and that this is a sign and this is my visit. And I'm very in tune with that. So I've taken those opportunities, and I've been gifted with these kinds of dreams, like maybe once or twice after, very close to their deaths. So I don't think that's nothing. Like,
No. I
personally don't think that's nothing. I've had bizarre experiences through this kind of lucid dreaming, but also through meditation. I've been meditating for 12 years. I learned with my mom when she was home with hospice, transcendental meditation, and I was meditating after she passed. And I remember, and I just started meditating, so it was kind of new to me. And I was back in New York. I had been in Miami with her for a while. I was back in New York, and I closed my eyes and I was meditating. And in the beginning, they were like, sometimes they were really deep meditations. Over time, like maybe because I've been doing it for a while, they're not always super deep, and you're not supposed to judge them or anything. So just let it go. And so I remember meditating, and I went into it was a very deep meditation. And then there was one point at which like I kind of like opened my eyes, but I knew I was not awake. Right. But I felt awake, and I saw my room that I was in the East Village. And I was like, and then my mom came into the room and she sat next to me. And I remember being like, oh my God, what the fuck is going on? Oh, there we go with the fucks again.
You and I were be banned from this. Like this is
but this is the last.
This is the last one.
And I was like, oh my God, what is happening? I cannot, like, I got scared. I actually remember being like terrified that she was in the room next to me. And again, she didn't totally look like herself. And I just went with it. And she said, come with me. Let me show you where I've been. And I was like, I can't.
You're like, do I really want to know? But like, kind of, but oh, I have the chills.
What does that even mean? Like, I can't come with you. And she's like, it's been really hard. It's been really bad. I've been having a hard time like getting in.
Thank you.
Oh, thanks, Darren. Okay, good. We're definitely allowed to curse. They're monitoring. So I remember just saying like, I can't go with you. And she's like, I don't like where I've been. Like this, like guy's not letting me in. It's like heaven's a club. Like there's like these like gates. And like she said, she's been waiting in this line. Like I can't. I mean, seriously, I couldn't believe it myself. I was just like, because it felt so real, and she was there. And then I was like, she's like, come with me. Let me just show you. This is ridiculous. Like you need to get into heaven. Like she was getting in. She was waiting to get into heaven. like or to the universe.
Town.
And she was like, I need to show you. She was like not happy, but she was like, I just need to get in. And I actually believe in like this in some capacity, that like, you know, our body leaves, I mean, our soul leaves our body and then we're somewhere else. And like, it's not, and like, you know,
Well, they do say, they
maybe
do.
go somewhere else.
I had a reading like not long after my dad passed away. And they do say that sometimes it's better, like if you do believe in all of that, to not get read right away, because they're like in this in between place, wherever it may be, before they go to like heaven or whatever you want to call it, because they're not quite ready to leave like their people behind, and they're not. So yeah, they hover around like in this like in between phase. So
Yeah.
she had a bit.
Like she was explaining, and she wanted me to see it, and I didn't want to go with her, because in my mind at the time I was like, that means I'm gonna die. Like if I'm going, then I'm dead. And I was like, and she got like really mad, and the room got like fiery, and it was just like, and I don't know if you've ever had this, like it felt like red and fiery, like it was hard, it's hard to explain. Obviously this is all very hard to explain properly. Anyways, have you ever had like been sleeping and you want to wake up but you can't wake yourself up? It's like called like sleep paralysis.
I'm trying to think. I mean, I'm sure it's happened. Nothing I can think of off the top of my head, but I'm sure.
Okay, so you have an experience. It's like this feeling, and I've had this also. I've had weird stuff throughout my life, but like where I'm sleeping, but I can't move my body, and I'm like, and I can't wake up, but I want to move my body and wake up. So it kind of felt like that, and what it kind of feels like is you're like sleeping, and you're like, that doesn't. Okay, I'm gonna get kicked off Instagram for that now. And like it feels like you're like, like you like push out of like this sleep. Like that's what sleep paralysis feels like. And I did, and my whole apartment was freezing. It was like summertime. My apartment was freezing. I tried to turn the water, it wouldn't get hot. Like it was a bizarre experience. And I don't think it is something to just be thrown to the side. My mom, before she passed, she was like, you know, like, look for the signs, Jamie.
I love
Look for the signs. Like she said that all the time. And when Alan passed away, she always looked for the signs for him. Like at the cemetery, there was always these just things that kept happening. Like she would see owls. I forgot what the thing with owls was, but whenever she saw an owl, or the number 3 was Alan's number, so it became like threes and dimes, something with dimes, I can't remember, but whenever she saw a dime on the floor, that was like a sign. And with her mother, it was always monarch butterflies. So now I've adopted like dimes, owls, butterflies.
you're like an.
I'm like really just like I'm looking at hydra, like pretty much anything is a sign now.
Mom and I've talked about this so many times, but like dimes everywhere. Like the most.
Dimes too?
Oh yeah, a lot of people are dimes. If you Google it, there is a thing with dimes and loss. But yeah, we find like the weirdest. The dimes are even like my boyfriend now is even like, okay, this is getting like bizarre. He's like, your dad needs to start throwing like hundreds, not dimes.
Dime shit. Like
I'm like,
come on, we've been through a lot here. Can we get $100 bill? Can we make a different kind of sign?
Hook me up with a quarter, Dad. Just like something more than a dime.
Like anything better. We're struggling.
Literally struggling. But I had like the weirdest dream once. And I don't really dream about my dad that much anymore. And when I did in the beginning, he was always sick. He was always in the hospital, sick, and it was always so depressing and horrible. So then I, out of the blue, had this very weird dream where I got a call from like, it wasn't an unknown number. It was like a weird number. It was like 6FG975, like something that's not a real telephone number. And I answer it. And again, like I can't remember all the specifics, but it was my dad. And like I very clearly knew it was like current day. I was my age. He had passed away. And like I knew he was calling me from wherever he was. Like not here, heaven, wherever you want to believe. And we had like this amazing conversation, and he was literally just calling to check in on me and like tell me he missed me and that he loved me. And it was so real. And then we got disconnected and I was like panicked and I'm like, Dad, where are you, Dad? And I was like, I remember dialing back the number. I was like, I'm just going to call it back. Are you going to call it back? I don't know if it's going to go through because this isn't a real phone number. And he answered again. And I was like, Dad, where'd you go? And he's like, we got disconnected. But he's like, he couldn't talk for much longer. And so he's like, I love you. And that was it. And I woke up and I wasn't like, I was so happy. I'm like, I literally talked to my dad on the phone last night. Like, that's crazy. Like a full-blown phone call. And the crazier thing about it is because I've lived in LA for so long and a lot of my communication with my dad was over phone because I saw them often, but I lived on the opposite side of the country. So we spoke on the phone all the time. So it was like our way of communicating. So it made sense that it was a phone call. It was crazy. That one was crazy. I haven't had anything like that in a long time.
And what a blessing. Like, that's so awesome. And you woke up feeling like connected.
Yeah. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. And my mom has had some weird ones. She's had like two where she woke up at her home where she grew up in New Jersey. And there was like a group of people in the house. And she said it was all people like that her and my dad were friends with. So she doesn't know why they were at her house in New Jersey because it was her childhood house. And there was sort of like either a dinner party going on or a get together or whatever. And my dad was there, but like not really paying attention to her. He was just present. And then they ended up like sitting on the porch together, having a really nice conversation. And again, it was like she very much knew that he wasn't alive anymore. He was just there and visiting. And then he goes, I have to go. And she's like, please don't go. I don't want you to go. And he's like, I have to go. He's like, but I don't want you to be sad. So look the other way so you don't see me walk away. And she looked the other way and he walked away. And when she looked back, he was gone. But she felt like she like hung out with him.
That's so specific too. I love that. Were you able to write down your conversation with him? Did you remember all of it after you had your dream?
I should have in hindsight, but it was
not have retained all of it. Maybe that's why you didn't.
It was so vivid the next day. Like I remember calling my mom first thing and being like, oh my God, Dad called me from God knows where last night. And this is what we talked about. But like now it was probably 3 years ago. So I have no idea to tell you the specifics.
Well, I believe in all of this stuff. I'm a big believer, and I don't know if that's me just wanting to buy into something to make this all easier. My mom like was really all about the John Edwards and the, you know, Brian Weiss and like all of the crossing over type gurus that were mediums. And, you know, I think Brian Weiss is, he does transgressions. So he has incredible books about transgressions, and I've really gotten a lot from his books. Is that how I say it? Transgression? Like where he like goes into past lives? Is that transgressions? Maybe I'm saying it wrong.
I'm like I'm like going to go on my computer, like look it up, but my computer's in the other room.
Yeah, I forgot the name. But Weiss's books are incredible, and actually, Alan dated his daughter at Camp Pinewood, I think. So we had like, I don't know what the connection was, but my mom like went to a Brian Weiss thing and she had like all of his books, and maybe because she believed in it so much, like I adopted her beliefs in it. Her and my dad both went to John Edwards, like crossing over seminars where like they would just hope Alan came through, and he never did. But I'm wondering if they went to a medium. I definitely have gone to mediums over the years, and like sometimes I walk away feeling like I've always walked away feeling like, wow, that was great, like I got to know them. But then I'm always skeptical. I'm like, I always think like, did I say too much? Like, did I lead them to that answer?
I actually went to that guy, you know, Tyler Henry, who's like,
no, I've heard the name actually, I think.
Like really young, and he's like now like a famous Hollywood, what's it called? Medium. Mm-hmm. My friend's husband is a producer, and they were trying to pitch him for a show. And so they were just trying to have him read anyone that they knew, whether it was a celebrity or a normal person, because clearly I'm not a celebrity.
You're a celebrity to me.
celebrity to me. We're any legends in our own mind.
That's fine. We can go through life like that. It works.
But yeah, I met with him and they say, you know, you're supposed to like bring something of the person. So I wore my dad's watch and, you know, it was just like he started off and he said something right off the bat. It was like too soon for him to know. And then I was skeptical through the whole thing. And it's like, I guess some of the stuff he said was accurate, but then I was like, I don't know. I don't know. I wanted to believe it so badly, but I was just like, I don't know. Not, but I would go to another medium.
I would keep going. This isn't to say I wouldn't keep going. I feel like it's a way to keep in touch. I just want to stay in touch. They're not on Instagram.
They're not on
Instagram. Supposed to follow up with them if it's not through a medium.
Right? And I feel like, again, like as more time goes by and they're like in their other place doing whatever they're doing, maybe it's easier for them to connect rather than like when it's fresh and new and they're all discombobulated because they're not here anymore and probably still want to be here. So I don't know. I would try it again. I'm not opposed to it. I would love for it to work.
Yeah, I'm not either. The only thing I'm opposed to is maybe like the psychic stuff. I don't really, and maybe that is common for a lot of people that have been through loss. It's like I don't really need to know what else is going to happen. Like I just want it to be good and decent and like, you know, and we've already been through so much that, and sometimes those mediums, they'll start to go in so much of the future. I remember having one medium, it makes me laugh just thinking about it. I was like, so, like, I'm really happy to be here. I just want to let you know, like, I really don't want to know the future stuff. And she was like, I already knew that.
Of course you did.
I'm like, yeah, I know. Of course you do. Yeah, I already knew.
Yeah. And it's so right. I don't know. I will go. You know what? I'll do another one. I've had some recommendations of really good ones, so I'll give it.
Some of them are on like, I almost said back order. Some of them are on like, have like a huge wait list.
Yes.
Or they're like a fortune, you know? And I'm like, my mom will send me signs. Like, I'm good.
Yeah. I don't need somebody. Like some people probably go like on the reg. I don't need somebody to like communicate with my dad to know that like he's around and from time to time he checks in because just weird things happen that could never have happened if it weren't him. And I know that you feel the same about your parents and your brother. So
this baby girl in my belly, I feel like is a gift from them. So I grew up with two older brothers and you know, two boys and a girl. My boys and my girl, who is, I'm 21 weeks, they're going to be, my kids are going to be spaced the same as me and my brother.
Hey.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Crazy. And I mean, like, I didn't do anything special. I mean, like I did something special to have a girl. Like I Googled like how to have a girl and I tried some things, but I like to think that they, you know, sprinkled some like, magical fairy dust on my dreams to have that mother-daughter relationship again. Since losing my mom, like I don't know. Like I've wanted to have that again in some capacity. And I definitely have that with my boys are amazing. And I don't know, there's something about the girl that's like,
yeah, and it's like,
for one, hopefully more calm because my boys are nuts. So that's one reason. But, you know, I was telling Sean today, like, I want to take her to like tea parties. Like, I know I'm being like, anybody that has a problem with like me talking about this, I'm sorry. But like,
this is totally different. Honestly.
The girly girl stuff. That's what I did with my mom. And I will not hold it against her. She doesn't want to go to tea parties with me. But I can't lie and say I don't want to have tea parties and princess parties.
Don't want to and if not, force her at least once, right? Just for yourself, for your own. Yeah, I mean, this is like, I actually really like our conversation because this is so different from the other guests that I've had because we're just sort of talking freely about like, whatever, honestly, whereas in the past it's just been like much more specific to one thing that's happened to them. But I think it also is just like great
place.
What?
Are we too all over the place?
No, because I think it's just also good to
Grief
see.
is messy, you know?
It's not a clear path.
How we're coping. Like we've both been through a loss, and like I'm sure anybody out there that's going through a loss of a person or a thing, or it's not just one thing. It's many things. And it
Yeah.
doesn't just go away after a year. Like I remember my mom telling me, "Okay, Jamie, like after a year, like you can grieve me for a year and then you have to move on with your life."
I
And
love,
like, come on, mom. Like, I mean, it's just not a thing. Like maybe she would have gotten more evolved as she continued to live on this earth, but like if I were to sit with her right now, I'd be like, Mom, it's not a thing. Like grief is a journey, and I'm going to grieve you like probably the rest of my life.
the rest of your life. Do you feel like so obviously you lost your brother first, then your dad. What was the time frame between your brother, your dad, and your mom?
So Alan passed away November 98. My dad, Murray, passed away 2004 November. Sorry, December 24th, Christmas Eve. So his Jewish daughter loved Christmas and he really wanted me to hate it.
Love Christmas. Same.
Love. I used to put like pine trees in the back of my car just to smell Christmas. And I would put lights up in my room, and my mom got me a little Christmas tree and she's like, "Don't tell Dad." And then my dad was like, "I'm gonna die on Christmas Eve. Take that." So that happened. And then we were in LA at the time. So that was also hard because we were not home. We were in another place. We were staying with my cousins. And that was just, it was all so foreign and challenging. And it was nice to come home. And honestly, I was looking forward to Shiva after being there for such a long time and in and out of the hospital. It's exhausting for anybody that's going through handling the process of a loved one in the hospital, and dealing with that, especially during COVID. God, like you can't go in, but like you feel so detached. It's a whole other type of experience. But for my mom and for my dad, it was like just like months of exhaustion and different conversations with doctors and hope and not hope, and just the fear of like when is this going to happen. And like when it was time to go home, I was comforted by going back to my home, being surrounded by family, and lots of bagels. And then 5 years later, 2009 is when my mom passed away from cancer, breast cancer.
That's crazy. But
Yeah.
the thing is like you and I are sitting here, obviously, like you've experienced more direct loss than me in terms of, your both of your parents and your brother. But like we're sitting here, we're laughing about it, we can chat about it, we can make light of such a horrible situation. And I think that's the takeaway from all of these, is that as bad as it gets and as horrible as you feel as it's going on, and as horrible as you may feel here and there, because there are going to be days where you just wake up and it hits you like a bag of bricks, like you will ultimately be okay. Like, and that's the amazing part, is like how resilient all of us are in these circumstances.
Absolutely. I mean, look, we're humans. There's going to be dark moments, but there's definitely the ability to live your life for yourself and for the people that you've lost. Because my mom was right. She wanted me to move. She wanted me to live all throughout her sickness. She wanted me to live. It's why she, kept it private. She didn't, and my dad too, he didn't want us to be dealing with that in our teenage years. Like they all wanted to protect us. And while I wish that I was like able to be more present for them and more supportive, and that they just trusted us to just be there for them, I'm also grateful because I understand where it was coming from.
Right.
And I think that there's amazing ways for people who have lost to channel that energy in whatever way that's their creativity for them, their way of channeling that loss. I write all the time. I've been writing since I was in 5th grade, music and journaling, and that has always helped me throughout my life. And I'm actually finishing a memoir right now. So
I can't read it.
I'm hoping to get that out into the world and have it, it's not just sad. There'll be lots of laughs because it's life entangled with loss. It's all intertwined. And so that's been one of the ways that I've channeled it. But I feel like there's a way for everyone to take that energy and turn it into something good, like Sincerely Jewelry, like for you, that's one of your ways.
That is exactly it. And I have a handful of friends who also have started companies that were inspired by the loss of a parent. And it's great. I mean, it's just, I always tell people you have to do what you need to do. Like the best advice is, in my opinion, to be selfish and to not listen to what anyone really tells you to do. I mean, everyone's grief journey and process is completely different. Especially like it depends on what you lost the person to, how you were present for the loss. Like, were you in the hospital dealing with it? Was it sudden? Was it an older person? Was it a younger person? So that affects everybody's, grief journey. So I always say, like, do what you need to do, especially right in the beginning. Like, be so selfish.
Yeah. Oh, 1,000,000%.
Say yes to things, say
tell you that.
right. Say yes.
Well, the truth is, and I got told this all the time, she would tell me, and I wrote a song about it with a friend once, your executive brain is not working as well as it should be. So things like tasks and, all of the organization stuff, it is not going to function as well as it used to prior to a loss. Yeah. So giving yourself that space, like you said, to just be wherever you're at is amazing, no matter where you are in the process, whether it be a year after or 20 years after. If you need a moment at a stoplight when all of a sudden something hits you and you need to take a moment and allow yourself to feel whatever you're feeling. I think there's a lot of judgment on ourselves. It's not from anyone else. It's like, but this was 20 years ago, or this was 10 years ago, or I should feel better now. Well, no, because we're not sitting in our grief at every given moment. It's going to come in and out. And I should like practice what I preach, because I don't always. Sometimes I have those thoughts too. I do want to just like be like, okay, I'm feeling this now. I'm going to take a breath. I'm going to notice that, and I'm going to just sit with it and allow it to come. If I want to cry, then Jamie, just let yourself cry. Just do it. Like it's okay. It doesn't matter when it was.
100%. And it's like sometimes I even feel bad because I can go like several months where I feel like totally fine.
Yeah.
And I be crying more often. Like, should I be more often? But at the end of the day, and I think you and I are similar in this way, like I talk about my dad so often, and I always have from the beginning. I never really held it in. So I feel like I was able to like grieve it all out early, like the real like
raw,
deep, like sobbing cries where I like couldn't control myself, where I was like kicking and screaming and like throwing temper tantrums.
Yeah.
And I cry, it's like because something really like amazing triggered a memory that I'm just like bummed I can't have again. And it's just like it's a nice cry in the sense that it's like, I'm remembering something really positive.
Yeah. And there are times where it's not as pretty,
Yeah.
That's okay.
That's okay too. Oh yeah. I mean,
at the beginning, of course, it's more raw, it's new. And then I remember, again, it was probably because I'm pregnant and like was very emotional. I remember just bawling, and I felt, and when I allowed myself to go there for whatever reason, I started thinking about all of my losses, and I just was, and I allowed myself to just let go, and I felt good after. I mean, I was sad, but like it felt good after.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like you can go there. You have to just allow yourself to go there. And like I don't do it often because it's not something I feel or remember on a regular basis.
It happens when it happens.
In a mental institution, if that were the case. But yeah, no, it's so great to just let yourself feel it and talk it out and be open about it, because
I don't feel anything at all. There's nothing wrong with going 3 months or 4 months or 5 months or a year at a time and being like, wow, like I love my life, I love my kids, or I love my job, like I'm enjoying my life. That's great. Wherever anybody is at is exactly where you should be.
Or you should be, exactly. And like whenever I hear people comparing or judging or like having a contest about one's loss versus somebody else's loss, I'm like, no, Like,
How often do you hear stuff like that? Who are you hanging out with?
I've had people say to me, like, oh yeah, I mean, I lost so and so, but I was younger than you, so it was hard. And I was like, okay, this is not a competition. Like, this isn't like,
It's a whole other conversation, by the way, of things not to say.
yeah, like,
And I really think people mean well, but it's an education of what to say and what not to say and how it might come off the wrong way.
yeah,
And I'm
yeah,
guilty of it too. Like over the years, we're not perfect, So, I think that there needs to be a whole book, and Modern Loss has done this really well. I think
oh yeah,
Rebecca, who is one of the co-founders of Modern Loss, she wrote a whole thing on, what not to say to someone that is grieving, and also tips on what to say.
yeah. It's funny. We talked about this in the last episode. A girlfriend of mine lost her baby at 23 weeks, and she wrote a whole list of just things not to say. And it was helpful for me because I've never been in that experience, and I've never been pregnant. So like, I don't know the things that you just should not say to somebody who are pregnant. And she said something as simple as like, never say to somebody, oh, is this your first, when you're pregnant, because you don't know what they've dealt with. You don't know if they've miscarried before. Or in her instance, like, she did have another baby, and like, people would say to her when she was pregnant with the second, oh my God, is this your first? And she would like have a nervous breakdown because she's like, you don't know that I lost my baby over 5 months. And
Just don't talk.
just
I think it's just say like, hey, it's so great to see you. You look great.
you look great. You look great. So it's the same thing. Ugh, I don't know. But again, like, I don't think anyone is ever doing anything. I think everyone always has good intentions when they say what they say to you. They just don't realize that sometimes.
No, it's an education for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, what other great advice do you have? Or tell us quickly, because I'm sure you have to go like eat or not eat or take care of
Finish my body
your children. Tell us a little bit about Jam with Jamie.
for the last 45 minutes. No, my biggest tip really is to be where you are. When it comes to grief, to know that it's a journey and to be where you are. And you asked me about Jam with Jamie?
Yeah, and tell us like that's played into all of this and like how you started it and all that fun stuff.
Sure, yeah. I started my company actually just a few short months before my mom passed away. I had been working as a children's music teacher at a couple of places in New York. And I remember coming down to Miami when my mom was really sick and was going into the hospital for surgery. And we weren't sure how it was going to go. So I basically like moved down not knowing how long I was going to be there. And unfortunately, I was here until she passed. But I remember being in the hospital and oh wait, no, sorry. Yeah. So I had started my company. I remember being in the hospital and things are really picking up and I couldn't attend to these birthday parties that people were asking me to do. So I had friends picking up parties for me. And my mom was like, one day, Jamie, you're going to do children's birthday parties for celebrities. I'm like, okay, Mom. And anyways, 12 years later, we're in 8 states. I have 50 performers working for the company. I run it. I'm the one who helps like find and train the performers along with other people on my team who help with that. I have an operations manager who's also one of my best friends, which I feel so grateful that I get to work with her every single day. It's like such an incredible blessing. I just hired a new brand strategist and marketing manager, Rhiannon, who I met through Hey Mama, which is an incredible community that I'm so grateful for. And it's was inspired by my mom. My mom told me, this is what I miss. My mom said when I was working for these other companies, she's like, you should go off on your own and like start your own company. And I have a friend whose daughter's child is turning 1 and you should do their birthday party. And I was like nervous and like I had done stuff like this with other companies, but I hadn't done my whole own set. And I was like, okay, like I'll do it. And I like, got all my animal puppets and scarves and shakers and I bought everything from who knows what, like Amazon or something. showed up and it was obviously rough, but like small party, I could make mistakes, but it went well. I got pictures. I started, my mom like made my first business cards. She's the one that came up with the name Jam with Jamie. That was all her. And honestly, originally I was like, that's a really dumb name. Like we can come up with something better than that. She's like, no, Jamie, Jam with Jamie's great. Like you go with that. So I went with it, and 12 years later, we're doing parties for celebrities. I'm not personally always doing them. It's something that I don't think she totally expected it to go where it went. But, you know, life happened, kids happened, and I stopped personally doing birthday parties a while ago. Hi, Jess. And yeah, it's been a ride. It's been great. And I love it. I love that it's a joyful, happy experience most of the time. I mean, any small businesses has trouble, ups and downs, but most of the time we are providing a happy, wonderful celebration for families. We do classes. We have a homeschool program that Aaliyah created that has been really successful during the pandemic. We're actually starting to, you know, to sell that curriculum to schools and do enrichment programs. We do events, and we've been able to, you know, recently start doing everything safely outside. And hopefully we'll see some more normal days soon. And it's been great. I'm super proud of it.
I'm proud of you. I think it's amazing. And I just love that the name stuck.
The name stuck. I have thought about changing it over the years. At one point, I was Jam with Jamie and Friends because I was thinking, like, oh my God, like, are people going to just want me to go to the parties? And then they just started calling every performer Jamie because it's like a unisex name, and I was okay with that. Then I was thinking about calling it The Jam. I think I like bought thejam.com. Like, I wanted it to be more like of a worldwide brand. It might still be The Jam at some point. So no one take that.
Yeah, no.
Gotta copyright that. But no, it's been a wonderful experience, and it's definitely, I think about my mom through everything that I do. You know, I think about her when things are tough. I think about her when things are great. I think about how she inspired me to run this company and keep it going, and she is definitely with me throughout it.
Oh, without a doubt. Are any of them named after your parents or your brother?
Yes. Zachary is not, we just like the name Zachary, but Alan is his middle name. And Evan Chase, his middle name is after my mom, Cheryl. And then this girl, we're trying to figure it out.
Yeah. You're like, we'll figure it out at some point.
Yes.
Amazing. Well, I love it so much, and I hope you and I get to meet in real life.
No, I know. I look forward to that. It'll happen.
It will definitely. I haven't even seen Jessica. It's like
none of us have seen each other. Like we're not seeing each other.
I know. We've been trying plans for probably, I've been here 4 months in Florida.
It's a hard time to make plans with anyone.
A hard time. Okay, so when things slow down and we're back, because we're going finally back to LA in 10 days.
Good luck. Oh yeah, Jess is upset. She's like, come on. Okay, so you have 10 days to see Jess.
Yes, which is going to be like impossible because I feel like, oh God, I was trying to make another plan. I'm like, there's no time for plans.
There's not, especially with 10 days left. You probably have a million things to do before you go.
Literally like a million things to do. I'm like, this next 10 days is going by so quickly, but we'll be back. We'll be back. And then we'll all get together, and you'll probably have your new little missus by then.
Yeah, we'll have another live. I'll be like breastfeeding and have like I'll really need a filter then. I'll be a hot mess. Yeah, we should do this again.
You're like a superwoman.
Do my best, but definitely not perfect.
That's
imperfect superwoman.
Perfect. Fun at you.
True.
All right. Well, I'll let you get back to the wild boys, which they probably actually are sleeping.
Oh, they're totally sleeping. I was, you know, no more talking. I have something very important to do.
You're like, leave mommy alone.
Yeah.
But yeah, go enjoy the rest of your night. We'll definitely. And thank you so, so much, because I just feel like this was just like such a nice breath of fresh air, seeing how great you're doing and how happy you are. So most
Thank you.
I think that's
And guys, congrats on everything that you're up to as well. It was so nice to chat with you. Thanks for having me on.
important.
And that whoever watches this is inspired to take a breath as well, laugh with us, and, you know, put one foot in front of the other, no matter what it is that you're dealing with. I think there's so many people dealing with all different types of loss right now. So I'm sure this will resonate in some capacity, regardless of it being a death loss or another type of loss.
Absolutely. I could not agree more. All right.
All right. Mwah.
I'll talk to you soon. Have a
Okay.
good
Take care.
night.
Bye.